welcome back. Unfortunately, women are still making just 82 cents for every dollar that their male counterparts earn. For women of color, the numbers are even worse. But according to a recent survey by Harvard Business Review Analytics Service, sponsored by UKG, progress is being made and some employees are still seeing it. But we still have work to do. The other day, I spoke to Chief Belonging, Diversity, and Equity Officer at UKG, Brian K. Reaves, and the John Forbes Distinguished Professor of Business Administration at the University of Virginia, Melissa Thomas-Hunt, about the study and what employers need to do to make a difference.
Brian, Melissa, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So let's talk about this survey. Brian, you guys surveyed 3,000 employees, and majority of them say that their company is kind of pushing towards the right direction when it comes to pay equity. But tell me a little more about that study.
Well, the study, first of all, confirms what UKG believes and what I personally believe is this topic of pay equity is tremendously complex. And that's how and why UKG addresses the topic within the scope of what we call our ecosystem of equity. So you not only need equity of compensation, you also need equity of representation, equity of opportunity, and equity of well-being. Because without that, you're not really addressing some of the systemic issues that cause pay inequities. That said, one of the stats that jumped off the page to me is related to what you started with, which is 74% of executives consider pay equity to be a moderate or high priority within their companies, but only 49% say that they have a pay equity plan in place. And as you said, 71% of employees feel and agree with executives that it's an important topic, but only 41% of them say they work for a company that has a pay equity plan in place. And 24% of those folks say that they work for companies that don't have a pay equity plan in place. So the numbers are even lower for people of color.
Wow. And Melissa, how do race and gender play a role in negotiations and self-advocacy?
They absolutely do. And it's a big thorny topic, but there are two buckets. So the first one is that our ability to negotiate and even just knowing that we can negotiate, what we can negotiate and how to negotiate comes from the social capital that we have. It comes from the networks. It comes from our mentors and sponsorship. And what we do know is that women, people of color, minorities often have differential access to those networks. And so there may be friction points to our even beginning the negotiation process. The other side of it, though, is we know that from research on women negotiating that women negotiating tend to experience a backlash relative to men negotiating in the same way and the same content. And so that's likely to have a differential impact on what they can actually get, but also how they're viewed by their peers and their managers. The important thing, though, is to realize that companies can actually take responsibility for this. They can commit to pay equity, taking this out of the hands of employees. And oh, by the way, when we look at the data from the UKG study, we find that employees are actually saying that there are other factors other than their negotiating ability that they think are most likely to contribute to inequities. That would be discrimination in the opportunities for advancement, as well as discrimination in salary and hourly wages.
Yeah, and Brian, so you talked about closing the gap, but what is your company actually doing to help employers, achieve that goal?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, we're trying to inspire other companies to think of this topic as a business imperative to the degree that your employees are your most important asset, and if they're not engaged and you can't retain them, you won't be successful. But with regards to Close the Gap, last year we launched an initiative called Close the Gap, whereby we're making significant investments in programs and in organizations who will further pay equity. As an example, one of the philanthropic investments that we made is in an organization called Reboot Representation, which is focused on equity of opportunity, meaning that they would like to double the number of Black, Latina, and Native American women with computer science degrees by 2025. We also made a significant investment in a partnership with the National Women's Soccer League so that we can elevate and have pay equity for both men and women in that great sport. And then outside of the study, we have other educational resources that we hope companies will consume so that they can accelerate their journeys towards pay equity.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, female soccer players just reached, that goal of being paid kind of the same as the men. That's like the first sports to do so, correct?
That is correct. At the national level, that was a long time coming and a tremendous amount of advocacy, but that's what needs to happen, not only on sport, on the soccer field, the football field, it needs to happen within companies as well. And companies need to step up and do the right thing.
1,000,000%. And before I let you guys go, Melissa, can you tell me really quickly, what kind of steps should companies be taking to reach, this pay equity, and whose responsibility is it? Are we talking about HR? Are we talking about our direct supervisors that are maybe going and advocating for us? Let me know.
Yeah, actually, it starts at the top. It has to start with the CEO, with the executive team. They have to cascade that message that they're committed to pay equity. They have to realize that, yes, it's complex, but there are tools that can help them to do the analysis. Then after that's done, they have to put a pay equity plan in place and tell employees, communicate with them what they're actually doing. It's not enough to just fix things. They actually need to create transparency. And then they need to hold all leaders and managers who have compensation decisions accountable so that the gap doesn't open, that it stays closed.
I love that, 1,000,000%. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. I really enjoyed you, and I hope this message gets across to all those employers watching, and we can do something together to close that pay equity gap.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.